What's going on YouTube? So we all know that gas is very expensive and cars are also becoming very expensive. But today we have something a little different.
And that's why we have this all-new 2023 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, which balances both of those things, and we've been testing it out for 7 days to see if this is one of the best in the segment.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and find out. So like Mason mentioned at the beginning, this is a new option for 2023, having a hybrid system in your Corolla Cross. And with this system, this is the 5th generation hybrid system. So you have a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine paired to a lithium-ion battery pack, and total system output on board is going to be 196 horsepower, which is actually up a good deal over the standard gas-powered model.
Now, as far as your transmission is concerned, it's paired to an ECVT. All-wheel drive is standard for every single hybrid model, and fuel economy is an impressive 42 miles a gallon combined, up 12 over the regular Corolla Cross model. Now, we do also have real-world fuel economy coming up later in the test drive, as well as we're going to get our signature sound level reading here in our home state of Kentucky. So you want to stay tuned for the test drive portion of this video.
Now, with a lot of hybrid vehicles, including inside of the Toyota lineup, you can't really tell the hybrid from the regular gas-powered version, visually speaking. But that's not going to be the case with the Corolla Cross Hybrid. That's because Toyota has actually opted to have 3 totally distinct trim levels for this model from that traditional gas-powered model. So when you choose the hybrid, you've got the choice between a new S, SE, and XSE trim level options. Those are going to give you a totally different front end design. But let's go ahead and dive into it. As you can see, we've got this body color section. It's going to extend down from the top here. We also have a black Toyota badge, and then your lower fascia is still going to be nice and large, but it's going to be finished in this gloss black that goes all around the outside edge, giving this a nice aggressive look. I think it's quite handsome, and in my opinion at least, an improvement over the regular version. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Let's also talk about the headlights. So we've got 3 different things going on here with the headlights. First off, standard LED headlights on all versions of this Corolla Cross Hybrid, so I do like that. If you choose the XSE, you're going to get a more premium arrangement that's going to add LED elements such as a daytime running light and turn signal indicator in addition to the headlights. And then furthermore, you can actually option on adaptive headlights to that XSE trim level. So that's a pretty premium feature for this class of vehicle. Also, XSE trim levels will come with fog lights. Now, as we check out the rear design, there's going to be less different between the hybrid version and the gas version than in the front, where you have those significant styling changes. So you kind of just have that typical Corolla Cross design.
Yeah, and I think it looks relatively handsome, especially for this segment of vehicle. And I'm going to have Drew go ahead and hop inside and see if all of our taillight elements are LED. So we do have an LED brake light portion, incandescent reverse light, and we also have an LED turn signal indicator. So 2 out of your 3 elements are LED in this Corolla Cross taillight design. Now, I do want to point out though, if you go for an XLE or an XSE model, you will have a more premium taillight design than this. This one does not have the LED accenting. If you go for those trim levels, it will have the LED accenting and have a little bit more of a nice vibe to it than this particular taillight design, but overall not bad for a more basic Corolla Cross model. Dropping down to this lower area, this is all going to be finished in a rugged matte black plastic. No exposed exhaust outlets on any Corolla Cross Hybrid, as you might expect. And I do want to point out, Corolla Cross Hybrid actually gets standard black badging for that nice and sporty look.
Now, the wheels also have a sportier look for this hybrid model. So you're going to start out with 17-inch alloy wheels. This SE also has 17-inch alloy wheels. We've got a nice contrast design to these, and you get 18-inch alloy wheels if you choose that top-end XSE. Now, as we move up here to our mirrors, they're going to be finished in a gloss black. Mason will talk about the roof in just a second, but as far as the features are concerned, you're going to have standard heating. We also have a turn signal indicator and blind spot monitoring here on the SE trim level.
Now here at the side, you can see that the Corolla, it did start out as a sedan and now it's bloated up just like all of us after COVID into a SUV. Now, as far as the overall length is concerned, 176.8 inches long. It's actually a tad bit longer than the regular version of the Corolla Cross because I guess different bumper designs for the sport models. And as far as how that compares to a RAV4, it's about 5 inches less than a RAV4. Now, there are a lot of cool design elements going on when it comes to the side here that I want to talk about. First of all, you're probably noticing that we have a two-tone roof option on this Corolla Cross Hybrid. That's optional on the SE and XSE trim level. So yeah, you don't even have to go for that top-end XSE to get the two-tone option. I really love the way this looks with the blue and black roof option. Now, as far as the safety systems are concerned, for those of you buying for someone who's not so great of a driver, you'll be happy to know that Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 is standard across the board, which is all 4 of your active safety features. But guys, that wraps up the exterior design. And
if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. But first, we'll take a look at the key fob. It does have smart entry on all versions of the hybrid, and you do have the typical key fob, no model branding or anything like that. Just reach behind the handle, that's going to unlock your door. And take a look inside the cabin. It should look very familiar to you if you've ever been inside of a Corolla, because this Corolla Cross does have a very similar cabin to those models. And first, let's talk about material and color choices. So, Toyota gives you the Henry Ford option for the interior color selection. It's always going to be black, although you can change the different stitching colors if you want. S and SE are going to come with the cloth seating you see here today. XSE will come with the Softex faux leatherette. As you can see though, nice looking seat. They've got a lot of different textures inside of this seat. So we've got the stitch down the center there. We've got this different kind of design through the middle. And overall, pretty nice looking seat. It's a little firm for a long road trip. And these are going to be manual seats, so keep that in mind unless you go for the XSE. That's going to get you the 10-way power adjusting seat. Let's go ahead and climb inside, take a look at the rest of the details. Now, in addition to seating differences, there are a few material differences inside of the cabin as well, depending on which trim you select. So we always will have this little leatherette pad for your arm to rest against. However, if you choose S or SE, the top part of this door trim is going to be completely hard touch with the faux stitch detail in it. All 4 of the windows, by the way, are one-touch auto up and down. Now, as we move to the upper dash, all models will have a hard touch upper dash. And then we have a leatherette area through the center section with the stitching detail through there. Down on the lower parts, these are of course going to be hard touch, as you'd expect for a vehicle at this price point, but everything does feel pretty solidly put together. Now to start it up, just put your foot on the brake and press the standard push button start. As you can hear, it does have the latest Toyota startup chime. But like always, now it's time to jump into a first-person perspective and take a closer look at some of the individual features, starting with our gauge cluster. So we actually don't have a hybrid-specific gauge cluster. As you can see, this is pretty much just your traditional Toyota gauge cluster, fully analog except for the 4.2-inch multifunction display in the middle. XSE will give you a larger 7-inch display in the middle instead. As we move back to the steering wheel, typical Toyota affair here. It is going to be leather wrapped, has the normal assortment of buttons. Manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is not available on this model. Let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage. I think this is going to be one of the biggest areas you see a difference between, say, this and the larger RAV4 sibling, because it does keep the same storage options as the regular Corolla sedan. That means your center console here is going to be quite small. As you can see, we've got 2 sunglass containers inside of this right now, my wallet, and a set of keys, and it is completely filled up. This also is not dampened, so it just kind of falls down. We also have 2 cup holders right there, and in the front, you've got another little area. This is good for charging your cell phone because that is an available option, and you have a USB-C above that. Now, pulling back here to the shifter, Nice traditional style unit. Just pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the left if you want to shift through some simulated gear changes. Of course, no paddle shifters on the steering wheel though. When we head into reverse, this is your backup camera. This is what comes standard. As you can see, we do have a guideline, but it is not active trajectory. And if you want parking sensors, you will have to choose the XSE trim level. Back behind the shifter, you have your electronic parking brake and your brake hold function. Now continuing on from that, we have our climate controls. All versions of the hybrid will have automatic climate. It will be single zone on your S and SE, dual zone on your XSE trim level. Nice and easy to use, as you can tell. And we have some physical buttons down there below. If you want heated seats, just be aware you will have to choose the XSE trim level. Up above that, we have our volume knob, and you've got two different audio systems on board. So standard 6-speaker sound system, however, available on SE and XSE as an option is the 9-speaker JBL premium sound system. That's what we have on today's tester, and we'll sample it out right now. Overall sound quality is about what I expect for a vehicle at this lower price point. It's not going to blow you away, of course, if you're a big audiophile, but it's certainly a huge upgrade over that standard 6-speaker sound system. All right, so let's dig into this display. This is where a lot of big 2023 changes have occurred. Of course, the hybrid model itself is new for 2023, but the gas-powered model also gets this update, which is a new 8-inch display, and it's also running the new Toyota Multimedia infotainment system, which is a huge step up from Intune 3.0. One of the main reasons that it's a huge step up is because you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities. That's what I'm in right now, so as you can see, you've got that nice design through there. We can also toggle back into Toyota's system and show you what that looks like. You're going to have built-in navigation here on this model. And you've got your shortcuts down there along the side for all your other settings. Now as we rise on up here, we got a manual dimming mirror. We've got some LED interior lighting, which is nice. And then we do have a sunroof on today's example. This is going to be included as an option on the SE trim level and standard on the XSE trim level.
All right, now this Corolla Cross is typically going to be used as a family vehicle. So let's check out this rear seat area and see how good it is. We're looking at 32 inches of legroom, 39.1 inches of headroom. So particularly very impressive headroom figure. They even have a cutout here, so if you're very tall, you're going to appreciate the extra headroom. Now, as far as the legroom, 32 inches is not great for the segment. It's less than the Honda HR-V. And with the seat-adjusted Drew, who's 5'8", we're sitting at about 5 inches of space. I'm 5'9" for reference. So certainly if you're on the taller end, you're going to be a little cramped, and especially if the driver is tall, you're going to be pretty cramped back here. It can basically go to no legroom whatsoever. Now, my feet can slide up underneath the seat, so that increases the comfort level a little bit. The seats do not recline. And then as far as features are concerned, here in the center, standard vents. I'm very happy to see that. That's something you typically don't get in this segment of vehicle as standard equipment, so that's very nice. We also have USB ports down here in the bottom. It's a Type-C variety port. One thing I want to point out though, this SE model is missing a center armrest. You do have to go to that top end XSE model to get that. I'm a little disappointed that they didn't at least throw that in on this particular model. Now, turning to the door trim, it's going to be hard as a rock here. All through this entire area, it's going to be hard. We do have a leatherette armrest portion though, so that kind of is a little bit nice. And then we do have a little grab handle right here, as well as a bottle storage in front of that. Now walking up to the tailgate here on the SE model, we do have a manually opening tailgate. And then as far as the space is concerned back here, 21.5 cubic feet behind the second row seats. With those seats folded, we're looking at a very impressive 69 cubic feet according to Toyota, which, guys, let me remind you, is exactly the same cargo capacity as what you get in the Toyota RAV4 hybrid. Now, it is worth noting that you lose just a few cubic feet of cargo capacity when you choose the hybrid model, about 4 cubic feet behind the second row seats as compared to a regular gas Corolla Cross model. Now, as far as some of the finishings back here, we have LED illumination. We do not have a spare tire on this particular model. You just have your tire repair kit down below there. And then the seats do fold a 60-40 split, as I just showed you. Let me go ahead and get out my tape measure so we can see how much space there is from the front seat back to the back. We're looking at 67 inches of length. And then as far as width, looking at about 40 to 41 inches of width here, so not quite big enough to store an average size US bicycle, but you could maybe do it diagonally and then you'd be able to fit it inside of this Corolla Cross Hybrid. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid here in Kentucky. We're going to be doing a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading. But first, we will start out with a hard acceleration to see what this Corolla Cross Hybrid is capable of.
And that is 60 miles per hour.
Not bad.
Not too bad. Now, like we mentioned at the spec dump, the hybrid is actually the more powerful option as opposed to the standard gas engine in the Corolla Cross. We have 196 horsepower. That gas model has 169 horsepower, so a pretty decent power advantage on board. And 0 to 60 is setting at about 8 seconds with this model. So this is a subcompact crossover.
Yeah.
This is a very slow segment, so believe it or not, 8 seconds is actually pretty good.
Oh, it is. I mean, yeah,
some of them
compared to some of the rivals, yeah. Lord, I mean, this thing would smoke it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I mean, the electric torque off the line is really the thing that you'll notice the most. You hear us talk a lot about it if you've watched our other hybrid reviews, but having that battery pack and the electric motor to kick you off the line really does help out, especially when you're in a weaker engine model. You know, it helps it feel spunky and torquey off the line, which is something that like none of the rivals have unless they're hybridized.
Right, and ultimately, you know, this is the type of vehicle most of the time you're not going to be driving flat out where you just hammer it to the ground. And when you're driving at a more normal pace, that's where you in particular feel that you have plenty of power. In other words, not like that. As you're probably noticing, we do have an ECVT for your transmission. We also have standard all-wheel drive with the hybrid models.
All right.
I do want to say that since we have been testing Toyota hybrids out kind of back to back,
Yeah.
we've done several different models. This one is the loudest of the group. And we'll get into the sound level reading here in a little bit to see how much of that is to do with sound insulation or the difference in the engine, but this does definitely get a little bit louder when you're accelerating hard.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we're going our designated 55 miles an hour on our strip of road that we test all of our vehicles out. Let's go ahead and get our sound level reading. We settled in 57.4 decibels as our sound level reading for this Corolla Cross Hybrid. And you know what I went ahead and went to? I went to our all-new CarConfections.com website to compare this sound level reading to some of its rivals, because guess what? We have all of the rivals posted on our website and their sound level reading, so you can go on there, sort to see the quietest options in the segment, the loudest options in the segment, all of those things. So if you want to learn that, go to CarConfections.com and go ahead and check that out. But as far as how this rates, compared to its rivals. It is tied for 5th place in the segment. It's going to be quite a bit quieter than our original test. We drove this vehicle back in California on a press drive, and now we're back home in Kentucky, and it is a lot quieter. It was originally at 61.9. The 57.4 is 5th best in the segment. It ties with the Kia Seltos.
Now, as far as being in electric mode, you can get up to a pretty decent speed. We're going uphill, so that wasn't, exactly a fair test, but I've had it go up into the about 30 miles an hour in EV mode. And of course, the handoff is going to be buttery smooth, just like it is in every Toyota. You just don't feel it at all.
Yeah. And another thing I want to talk about is the ride quality. Now, the Corolla Cross Hybrid, I was very curious to, see how it rode on road trips, as well as just in our home state of Kentucky. And I've been very impressed with it. This entire week that we've been driving it around, I think the ride quality is one of the most impressive bits. It does a very good job of taking out any harshness that you're going to feel. I will say that these seats in SC configuration with the cloth are a little on the firm side, and they're not adjustable really at all because they're manually adjusting. So that's going to be really the downfall when it comes to the overall road trip experience, would be your seats. But the ride quality itself is very good in this Corolla Cross Hybrid.
Yeah, I agree. It's very similar to the RAV4 that we had last week.
But now for a very important part about this vehicle, the fuel economy. Of course, it's the hybrid version, so you expect it to get good fuel economy, and indeed it does. 45, 38, 42 miles a gallon combined is your rating for the Corolla Cross Hybrid. That's up 12 mpg over the traditional gas model. So for me, I feel like it's almost a no-brainer to go for the hybrid. You get more power, you get better fuel economy. I do like hybrids, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I think that seems like a win-win to me.
Yeah, I'd say most people like paying less at the pump.
Yeah.
But as promised, let's talk a little bit about the real-world experience, because I think this is a very important thing when it comes to this Corolla Cross, because we mentioned just last week we had the RAV4 hybrid. So this is kind of something important to consider, because our real-world fuel economy we got over a pretty lengthy amount of travel. It's kind of been a holiday week. We've gone on highways and cities, and we've really put this Corolla Cross to the test, and we averaged 37.3 miles per gallon. So you'll notice that is below the EPA rating. The RAV4 hybrid, which we went on a similar circuit of all around Kentucky, seeing family and things like that, we achieved a higher rating than that. We actually achieved the EPA rating. So that was right on the dot. So it's interesting to us that this one, being smaller, actually was getting worse fuel economy than the RAV4. But the key to that, I think, is the fact that this is, while a smaller crossover, not a lot smaller than the RAV4, while this is using the smaller hybrid system. So this is using the 2-liter engine instead of the 2.5-liter engine. And, just something to keep in mind, that even though you might think this is going to outperform a RAV4 hybrid if you're cross-shopping the two of them, it's likely not, because it's going to be straining a lot more and keeping that engine on a lot more to keep it up to speed, especially on the highway. Yeah,
the highway, I think, is where this vehicle struggles. Another thing I do want to point out is that when you take this vehicle on a road trip, it's very easy for you to notice that the gas hand keeps going down really quickly, and the reason for that is this thing only has a 10.6 gallon tank. So I took this car up for about a 3-hour road trip each way, and I had to fill it up twice. So it was just a little bit inconvenient having that small of a gas tank, and not a bad fuel economy rating of 37 mpg, but you certainly notice you have to keep stopping and filling up to get gas, whereas in the RAV4 you have a lot larger of a fuel range. And it's also time for us to hit our slam dunk and air ball. Drew, what is the slam dunk for the Corolla Cross Hybrid?
Going to be that right there, the fact that it is a hybrid. It's very uncommon, actually, to offer a hybrid, and I think probably what people are most cross-shopping this model with, of course, you've got those reliable Japanese brands people like to target. So people are going to be looking at a Honda HR-V, and you're not going to be able to get a hybrid version of that HR-V. So it's going to be a unique advantage for this Corolla Cross.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as our airball is concerned, it's just going to be that this thing cost very similar to the RAV4 hybrid. Yes, it does have a lower starting price, but once you start throwing in the options and stuff and going up the trim levels, you really start to notice that this Corolla Cross Hybrid is very much into RAV4 territory, and I do think the RAV4 is an overall better product. And lastly here, as far as the warranty is concerned, it's going to be Toyota's 3-year, 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain. Additionally, you are going to get 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And let's talk pricing for this Corolla Cross Hybrid, because we said this needs to be an affordable offering for most families, and indeed, it is a pretty good price point. S is starting at $27,970, SE $29,290, and XSE $31,065. This particular tester is an SE with quite a few options on it, plus the 1335 destination. We're looking at $32,865 as tested today, which I would say I would probably just get the XSE trim level if you're going to go for above a $32,000 price point. I think that makes a little bit more sense to me to get the XSE and maybe do a few less options on it. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on this week-long review of the 2023 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid SE. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help give us access to these 7-day-long loaner vehicles that we can really extensively test out and provide you with real-world fuel economy as well as just general impressions. So you play a very pivotal role in that. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. We also have that all-new website that we'd love for you to go ahead and check out, as well as our TikTok and Instagram pages. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.